He's been loyal, he's a great warrior, and I think he's gonna die on the field as a warrior. The love story that they build up over the last couple seasons seems like it gives his death a push in the direction of making a real impact when it happens, and I think that it will happen sometime during the Battle of Winterfell. I have to imagine he's going to go down swinging, like he's going to put up a good fight. And I think it's likely that he will do something heroic before things go wrong and he leaves the series for good. Number 2 is Jorah. Since we started out talking about the trailer, let's cross Jorah off the list. He was another one that I was like, well, you see Jorah there, he just doesn't look like he's going to make it. I feel like he will have to go. There really isn't much for him to do at this point in the story anymore. Daenerys has Jon and Tyrion to advise her, so on some level he's fulfilled his role. Like Grey Worm, he is also a loyal and good warrior and he has value, but there's going to be a high death toll when the White Walkers attack, and I was thinking that some of the secondary characters like Pod, Tormund, or Bronn, you could essentially flip a coin for these guys. Maybe they'll die, maybe they won't. They're popular characters. It'll be impactful if they do die. But Jorah is a bit more essential. Like he's on a level just above those guys in my mind. And like I said, he kind of doesn't fit anywhere after the battle, so I think he's going down. Number 3 is Qyburn. Qyburn's an interesting character. He worked his way up. It was an impressive climb to become the Hand of the Queen. He had been kicked out of the Citadel for the work that he was doing, so he pretty much started from nowhere. But I don't expect he will still be alive by the end of the season. I don't know exactly when or how he will die, but if for nothing else, he stayed with Cersei after she decided to go back on her promise to send the Lannister troops north. This will make him incompatible with whoever takes over next, or whatever happens next. And his Frankensteining skills really don't fit into many scenarios going forward either. I didn't even give the Mountain a position on this because he's definitely going to die. Like, that's just not even a question, really. But a guy with the ability to make something like the reanimated Mountain can't be running around in Westeros after everything is said and done either. So for that reason, I think Qyburn is through. Number 4, Beric. If we're talking about reanimated people, I think it's really safe to say that Beric Dondarrion will die. I think he's going to play an important role in the War for the Dawn. After all, they kept him around for something all this time. But he'll likely die on the field. He believes that the Lord of Light was bringing him back for a purpose, and Thoros isn't around any longer to bring him back. There is an outside chance that he might die while delivering a kiss of life like he did in the books, but not sure that the show has really set this up. So our favorite flaming sword-wielding Fire White will finally die for real before the remaining people head south. Number 5 is Euron. Euron doesn't have a chance of surviving Season 8, in my opinion. Personally, I'd be fine with Theon completing his redemption arc by taking him out and saving Yara. But even if that doesn't happen, there's no way he can get to the right side of things. Like, he just can't be on the right side from where he's at right now. Every scenario I can imagine where he stays relevant for even a couple episodes end in him dying in one way or another. He has a role to play, but it ends with him dead. I say good riddance as well, since I feel like the show version is a real letdown compared to the character in the books. I think they missed an opportunity to really create a good character, but, they didn't feel like they had the time to flesh that out. And yeah, Euron is cannon fodder. I don't know when he'll go down, but he will go down. Number 6 is Melisandre. The Red Woman told us she was going to die in Westeros, and I believe her. What's more important, though, is that she believes it herself, and that means it will happen. Like most of the people on this list, I can't really see her playing a role in what comes after the Battle of Winterfell. And the main thing we know about her is that she is dedicated to trying to save the world from the Great Other. I think as far as the show is concerned, her dying during this conflict makes the most sense. Hopefully they have something really cool planned for her, and her end will be fitting. George R. R. Martin has said that she's one of the most misunderstood characters in the books in his opinion, and I think there's a lot more to her story there. But here, she's just going to play some sort of role. It's what she's been set up for. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think there's a lot of potential of it being cool. I just don't think there's any potential of her actually living past that when it happens. Number 7 is Varys. Melisandre also told Varys that he would die in Westeros, but in contrast to her, that's not why I feel like he's going to die. Of course, she does see things in the flames. She generally gets wrong what that is, and there's pretty good reason for that, I think. But as far as Varys, it's more of like his time, like the time when he was relevant to the story has passed. I think Varys has to die for the same reason that Baelish had to die, because, those particular skills aren't really going to be important in the Westeros of the future. Varys has been a key player, and it'll be like a really impactful death, I think. He's helped things get to where they are in a lot of ways, but my hope is that whatever comes next won't have a place for him. Like, I just don't see him fitting. I really have no idea what a good ending would be for him. Hopefully he can do something really good for the realm before he dies, because I think that is really a motivation of his, not just something that he says. Number 8 is Jaime. I don't think Jaime Lannister is a controversial choice to put on this list. In fact, I think most fans expect him to die in one way or another. What's interesting to me about Jaime is when and how he'll die. There's a lot of speculation about this. There's always been a lot of speculation about this, I guess. And, some people think he will be the Valonqar Cersei fears, and then he'll die right after he kills her. Others think that he'll die in Brienne's arms. Some people even think that he'll die in Brienne's arms. Arya will end up with his face, and then she'll fulfill the Valonqar prophecy while wearing it down in King's Landing. I'm not really sure. I do feel sure that he'll die, though. Him killing Cersei has certainly been foreshadowed, and I think it's a good end to his story. But at the same time, he'll definitely be fighting side by side with Brienne against the White Walkers, so that's a possibility. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not really on board with his redemption. I've talked about this in several videos, but I know it's a popular one. People are rooting for him, and they want to see him redeemed. So let's just hope that he gets a nice, fitting ending at the end of the day. Number 9 is Cersei, Jaime's sister. I suppose this is pretty obvious, but she is currently the queen of the 7 kingdoms. And, I actually love Cersei. It's one of those love to hate, kind of just love her even though she's terrible kind of thing. So this will be pretty hard for me to watch. She's one of the few characters I actually like better on the show than in the book. And I really love watching Lena Headey play her. She's objectively one of the worst characters in the story, though, and there's definitely no place for her in the future of Westeros for all the same reasons that I just mentioned about these other characters. Because of her position as queen, there are so many possible ways that she could be killed off, and the show never mentioned the word Valonqar when she visited Maggie the Frog, so, there's that. I still kind of want it to go that way, but I don't think that it's set in stone. I also don't personally care if Arya is the executioner, but I imagine that would be a fan favorite way for her to come to an end, for her reign to come to an end. If anyone ever doubted that she might remain on top, like she somehow might win at the end, I think that scene with the sands with Ilaria and Tyene and the dungeons, that pretty much put a seal on her fate. You don't come back from that one. She's on her way out. It's just a matter of when, and I just don't see another way out for her. And number 10 is Daenerys. This is the only one that's a bit controversial and that I struggle with. I'm really not 100%, but I do believe that the Mother of Dragons will die before the series comes to an end. Basically, I don't think both Daenerys and Jon will live. Based on the ways I've imagined the story ending over the years, I just think it's slightly more likely that Jon is the one who survives. Obviously, Daenerys is a sympathetic character, and we root for her, and it would be great if she could survive. I don't really like in the show how they kind of made this false thing about her being a possible mad queen. It doesn't really hold up for me. But at the same time, I just think one of them has to die. I don't think they both can live. In the video I made last week about the things that sort of have to happen for the show to be good, I said that life has to go on in Westeros. There has to be something that happens after. This doesn't end with a battle, right? So I don't think it would be impossible for Daenerys to be a good ruler. I also don't think it makes a lot of sense for a ruler to come in based on the claim of the bloodline, like how she has gotten to where she's at. She's not responsible for that. That's a thing that happened. But having a Targaryen with dragons retake the throne, it's just the same kind of story. I'm not a Jon fan. I like the character. It's just I like all the characters. I'm not rooting for Jon. I don't have an interest in him becoming king or anything like that. And I'm certainly not anti-Daenerys, but I do think that Westeros will be changed by the time the story ends. If I have to pick one or the other, I think Jon is the more likely candidate to do what's right for the sake of it being right. Regardless of having a better claim or any of that, he is still a bastard with no claim to anything at heart. That's who he sees himself as. And we've seen him do things for the right reasons, even though he's made a lot of mistakes. And Daenerys has done that as well. They do mirror each other in that way. But there's just something that is making me think that Jon's story portrays him as someone who's slightly at an advantage for being the guy you want to be holding the keys to drive the car to wherever it is Westeros is going at the end. And of course, having dragons now doesn't mean that she'll still have those at the end of the story. They could definitely die. There's a chance that all magic will die if you really look at it. That by itself isn't the reason why I think that it's more likely that Daenerys is the one who dies. I think for me personally, it would have more impact. I think that's more sad. Jon's already died and come back. He's essentially a fire white. So him dying again isn't really going to have that big of an impact. And